So I'm Evelyn Avila. I teach U.S. history, and I'm interviewing Brian and Aaron. Do you guys want to say what you teach?
Yeah, I teach AP U.S. History and AP American Government.
Aaron Sweeney, AP U.S. History and U.S. History Core.
Okay, thank you for allowing me to interview you. Pretty much, I'm taking a class where we're trying to find out how to be a well-balanced teacher and just minimize stress and improve teaching by just being a healthier teacher. This is the book we're using. And so one of the questions that an article that I read about was about teachers experiencing burnout and whether things should be labeled as burnout or demoralization. And when we think about why some people leave their jobs, what really is causing teachers to stop teaching? So do you guys, I would just like to hear your opinions on why you think some teachers leave the profession.
Well, okay. I think they can they start after a while, they don't feel as though they can relate as well to the kids as they used to. And I think in a teaching profession, that really wears on you as opposed to another profession, because it's such a personal event that goes on every day for an hour, 5 times a day. You're with, 20, 25 kids who really need you to lead them, and you're in charge of everything. And if you don't have that camaraderie, it wears on you pretty quickly, and you can't hide behind it. Where I think in other professions, you can kind of get burned out a little bit, but you can kind of hide behind it in your office or where, on your computer and everything like that. And maybe you're not doing as good of a job, but you're just getting by. Whereas with teaching, if you're just doing that, it's just harder, I think, emotionally and spiritually on somebody, and then wears on them pretty quickly, and they say, I can't do it anymore.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think, harder to kind of put up face.
Right.
I think it comes down to finding joy in the act of teaching. I feel like I had a epiphanal experience in student teaching, in that, I've been waiting for years for student teaching. I'm going to be teaching high school kids, and I'm going to be doing world history. It was the Russia unit. I was really, really amped up about what I was going to be doing. It was very little about the kids. It was what I was going to be doing. And man, that was a pretty joyless 8 weeks. I remember thinking, man, I don't know if I can do this for a living. And then under the old certification, you had to do 8 years in middle school, 8 weeks in middle school and 8 weeks in high school. And so I'm at Thomas Jefferson Middle School in Decatur, and I could care less about the stuff I was teaching. It was like junior high curriculum. And there I became very connected to the kids and really found joy in, I didn't really care about the curriculum, but I found it with the kids, we'll say. And then that was always kind of something I took with me, was make sure you're finding joy with the kids, not getting hung up on the content. And, there are hard days, but there are also a lot of days that I really look forward to, I'm going to do this activity with the kids. And, it's always a lot of fun when we do this. And that's the kind of thing that keeps me going, is finding joy in the actual act of teaching. And I would think that if you're unable to do that, that might be a reason why you would quit.
I like that you said that, because in the article that I read, it said something about one of the reasons why teachers were leaving was because they felt that they lost a lot of autonomy in their teaching. And so you said that it got to a point where you didn't really care what you were teaching, but more so about finding joy with the students. And so they mentioned something about you lose sense of the moral rewards of teaching. And so that doesn't really sound like burnout. If anything, it seems more like there's something else that's missing, and not necessarily that the teacher got burned out. And so one of the things was, do you really feel that a reason why many teachers leave is because they feel burnout, or do we just mislabel everything as burnout when really there's other issues going around?
Yeah, I don't really feel it. I agree kind of with yours. I don't really feel it's burnout per se. I guess it kind of depends on how you're defining burnout. But
I guess, how do you guys define burnout?
I don't know. It's tough.
I don't know. Like, I don't feel like the people who lead the profession are people who love teaching the first 10 years and then just decide after 10 years, oh, I'm tired of this. I want to do something different. I feel like it was years and years of not finding joy in it until they reach a breaking point where I got to do something else with a paycheck, because 9 to 5, 9 months in a row of this is banging my head against the wall.
Yeah. 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 I would say burnout is doing this, just kind of doing the same thing over and over and again, and just getting tired of it. And a big difference teaching is getting back to Aaron's point. Although the content might be pretty similar, you're facing a new 120 kids every single year, or especially if you have semester class, then you get a whole new group of personalities, whole new series of opportunities to make connections with kids. So the nature of your job, it changes a lot. Even if the curriculum itself doesn't change, your clientele changes quite a bit. Now, 15, 16, 17, they're not all that different from the next one, but they are different. Each kid has their own glimmer in their eye, their own story to tell, their own chance that you can make a connection with that particular kid. So I think that helps to avoid, burnout, as you suggested.
I can't remember what you said, Evelyn. You said something about teachers feel like they lose moral, I can't remember what the word you used.
The moral rewards of teaching.
Yeah, like I'm curious, in your research, is burnout more prevalent in the inner city and less prevalent at New Trier, or is that completely misperceiving it? Like I look at my own experience, Morton's a neat place in that my lowest performing students, and it's not just one or two, there's a substantial number of low performing students, resemble students from the inner city. But then I've also, I share with Brian, the student who went to U of I, who ended up on the front cover of the newsletter, or he has a student who just made it into Harvard. Like my job doesn't feel hopeless. I don't feel like 100% of my students are reading below grade level, really struggling to learn, surrounded by overwhelming environmental issues that make it impossible for them and for me to succeed. You got some kids who you might feel that way about at times. Mm-hmm. You've also got rock star kids who are going to go on to bigger and better things, and you're just thankful to be a part of it. I bet that if I taught in an environment where I was just inundated with hopeless situations or seemingly hopeless situations, that might also further contribute to burnout.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know, because I do feel that a lot of people will look at our school and think that's a really tough school to be in, and they would see it as maybe like a bit hopeless.
Well, is that a misperception of our school, do you think? Or do you think that they're actually right? If they were in our school, that they would experience that, or is it just a misperception of our building?
I don't know. Have you guys ever taught at like a more like suburban type of school?
No, I've been all Morton.
I had summer school at New Trier one summer.
And how was that compared to Morton?
I didn't like it. I just remember I had a parent in my office sweating me over why didn't my kid get a B+ instead of a B-. I remember thinking this was such an in place, and
in summer school too.
Right. Yeah. There's a certain level of I don't know what's the word I'm looking for here. There's a certain level of not attitude, but I don't know. There's certain things that I'm willing to listen to or entertain out of a student growing up in our students' situation that I didn't have the stomach for taking. I didn't have a lot of time for the complaints of this particular parent.
Yeah. See, when I did my student teaching, they made a really good point about putting us in different schools. We had to do, like, even before student teaching, we did like over 100 hours of just observations and mini teaching lessons in different schools. So I taught like at the like the Stevenson High School of like Bloomington, Illinois. Like it was like a really amazing high school. This is like 10 years ago, and everyone was one-to-one. They had all of this stuff, but I felt like I was just doing a job. You know, I couldn't really connect with the students.
Yeah.
Whereas I went to teach at, I went to the juvenile detention center, and right away the students just needed someone to listen. And like as soon as we built like the bond, then I would teach them stuff, and they were like learning, and that's where I got my moral, I guess, rewards. That's where I felt like I was making an impact, that what I was doing was significant. I don't know. And so I think because I feel that way with students in particular, I'm a great fit at Morton. But I think those teachers perhaps that are used to working in the suburban area do look at Morton and would never like be able to like, I don't know. I'm not sure like if they'll be able to like last or not, because I think it's a total different type of teaching.
I agree. I think it's more at the wealthier schools. It's more. I'm the conduit that connects you between where you're at now and this very inevitable goal that most of you are going to get to. And I'm just kind of guiding you. I'm a guide there. Whereas at Morton, the actual personal connections that both of you have alluded to that we make with our kids is really important, I think, to a lot of our students. And it's that moral reward that you're talking about, I think. But okay, that said, I think that a teacher at a new church would adapt to it pretty quickly. I think they got into teaching for kind of the same reasons we did. If they come into our classroom and they feel that energy, that look on the kids' faces, I think that they would adjust their teaching style, and they would feed off the same things that we're feeding off of, I would imagine. So I think that they have, that's why I kind of asked, is it a misperception? I think they have this perception about Morton, but if they were to teach in our building, they would quickly see what we see, what's so great about Morton.
And then, so then I guess it leads me back to the question, why do teachers leave the profession? Are they burnt out? Do they feel demoralized? Like, do we understand the difference between demoralization and burnout? I don't know.
I think it's demoralization. I think it's more than burnout. I think I kind of get back to what I said. It's demoralizing to stare at 25 kids 5 days a week, 5 times a day, and feel as though you're not being successful. If you feel as though you're not being successful and you look at these 25 kids, and it's demoralizing to you. And then not to mention just like that will inevitably lead to discipline problems because the kids are bored, and that not only are you not connecting with them, it's becoming an antagonistic relationship too often. And that adds to the demoralization. So it just, if you're not making those connections with them both, at an academic level and at a personal level, then things can spin out of control, I think, pretty quickly over a period of years, I think, for a teacher. And they're like, I can't handle this. I feel unsuccessful every day. I feel defeated, and I can't hide behind it. I got to do something else.
I think it's nail on the head. I don't see somebody enjoying their experience as a teacher years 1 through 10 and then just waking up one day and saying, I'm tired of this, I'm burnt out.
Yeah.
I think they're getting worn down by being in these joyless, unsuccessful situations.
Yeah. Actually, the article that I was reading, a lot of it alluded to the reasons why teachers that have been teaching longer than 5 years left their profession. They cited things like all of the exams, or not having the money, or not feeling supported from their faculty or the administration. So things that they try to fix, but yet they weren't getting any help with. And so they felt that the job was bigger than what they could do. But yet they still label themselves as I got burnt out, whereas perhaps a better label would be I felt demoralized. I felt that I was trying, and I was not getting any like positive feedback. So yeah, thanks for letting me interview you guys on this issue. Just tell me, how long have you been teaching?
I am in my 30th year.
30th year.
Yikes. Yeah.
Nice.
Just finishing 18.
18. Nice. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thanks for including us. All right. Bye-bye.